Today's gonna be our last day with Alex, and we're just about to hop in his tin boat, and we're headed into an ancient forest today, which is really cool. There's a couple spiritual sites there that are really impressive stone formations that hold a lot of significance, and we're also gonna look at some pictographs. And Alex is basically gonna guide us around and show us all this amazing stuff that's more or less right in his backyard, so we're looking really forward to it.
This is Ted, I'm Jim, and this is my dog Buck. We've explored over 10,000 miles of the world's most brutal terrain. Now, we have a 2-week, 140-mile canoe trip in the Temagami backcountry. We're gonna go visit a friend of ours named Alex Matthias, who's an Aboriginal elder that lives in the bush. We got an incredible route coming up. Hopefully we didn't bite off more than we can chew. There's been some forest fires in the area. Hopefully we can stay clear of those. God willing, we should be done this trip in 15 days if all goes well. So basically our adventure is starting right now.
Just checking out some pretty awesome pictographs with Alex here.
There's more than one there, but those are pretty gay to see the arrowhead.
Oh yeah, it's a high water line was. That's a good little trick. Why didn't we think of that, Jim?
I don't know.
It's an old Indian trick. Well, my dad told me a lot of them were done by the Iroquois people, so their followers could see where they were.
Yeah.
Some is ours, but you know, they battled with us. There used to be wars between different tribes of people, and the Iroquois, I don't know if it was land issues or stealing, but the Iroquois that came through never returned. This might have broke off, but there's another 3 marks there, see it?
Oh yeah.
So I guess they would have just painted them in by canoe, right?
Yeah, everything was canoe height, eh?
Yeah.
So that's why I say the water might have been higher back then. Well, I had an archaeologist come in here one time and he said they're 4,000 years old.
Wow.
It's amazing kind of to think that this lake has been that unchanged more or less for 4,000 years. That almost looks like a thunderbird, eh?
It's possible.
Yeah.
I wonder what they use for paint.
Ochre.
Ochre.
Ochre, they mix it with, I heard 2 stories, with fish grease or fish eggs.
I can't believe that ochre and grease lasts that many thousands of years.
It's more of a dye, it sinks into the rock, you know, where paint peels off eventually.
Right.
There's one more good one here.
But we don't really know for sure why they painted these though. Was it just for art or?
There's some meaning to the sites because in the old days, this passed down through oral history.
Yeah.
My dad told me the natives never buried anybody.
Yeah.
They put them on high ridges or rock cuts to let them rest. And it's probably marked it to someone there.
So this might have been a grave site up there.
Yeah. Burial site. Jibaging means where the spirits go.
Ted and I are just here in the Wakimaka Triangle old growth forest. It is the last stand of eastern red and white pines that has never been logged, never been touched by the hands of man in the entire world. And so this is an ancient forest. And so we're just walking through it here with Alex Matthias, and he's telling us a little bit about it. He was actually had a big role in conserving this place when loggers wanted to cut it down.
But these ones are just more or less just growing right out of rock. So they're not quite as big, but they're incredibly old. And it's just an amazing, amazing place. And it really does give you a rejuvenating feeling to walk through this forest. He's showing us some old blazes that were made by native travelers who passed through this way, who used to use all the portage routes around here as their only means of transportation.
Some of them almost healed over now because they're so old, eh? You notice they put blades on each side of the tree, one for coming this way, one for coming that way. But it's pretty well healed up. The blades could be 100 years old, at least. You can tell it was done with an axe, because you can see the axe mark still in the tree here.
You know, I never noticed these, eh?
No. You know, this one here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the blaze was probably here, like the red pine.
Right.
But the white pine, the blaze grows up with the white pine in the height, eh? But the red pine stays the same spot. The red pine just gets bigger and the tree goes taller, but the blaze stays, but the white pine goes up with the...
Wow.
Yeah,
so it stays at the same spot with the red.
got bark off this many years ago. They took up my top thing. They finally made a moose call out of it, you know. I believe it's about the same size meat to make one. I don't know how many years it could have been, but it's an old bird you can tell by looking at it.
Well, the tree didn't die. You know, some people say the tree will die.
No, because you leave a layer of bark on, man.
Yeah.
You don't take all the bark off.
Yeah.
Just about to head up to see the Three Sisters. Pretty special place.
The Three Sisters, this is a very old trees right here that grow side by side, and they're almost the figurehead of this Wakimaka Triangle ancient forest. Pretty cool little spot.
People did court and find out this 1 year alone it was 350, and the other one's about 300, and the red pine and white pine is probably about 250. I mean, it's going to be around for another 200 years. It'll die. But even after it dies, it'll sell them up to close to 100 years. Then once it falls, it takes another 100 years to turn back to soil.
All the logging talks about all the time too. They're like, oh, it's a natural process like forest fires, but also it's the nutrients that goes back into the soil.
Exactly.
You can't just take things out of an area. Like farming, the more you grow in the soil without replenishing it, all of a sudden your crops start coming back. Well, that's going to happen here too.
The problem with trying to say, compare a clear cut to mimic a natural forest fire, which is totally different.
Yeah.
You know, because a natural forest fire, the soil burns, it fixes that soil up again to start reproducing. It usually comes back as a birch and poplar quick and hang around for about 40 years, 50 years. Then jack pine might pop up there around about 80 years, then the red and white come back, which is around for, you know, 300 or 400 or 500 years, you know.
That would be the natural process.
Yeah, there's a natural
So the
process.
forest basically has already been 400 or 500 years before these trees would even start growing.
Yeah.
And then these trees are going to live like 550 years potentially. And then the process is going to start again.
I even heard that white pines are actually like carnivores to an extent because they manage to extract nitrogen from tiny insects, which other trees don't do. And so these are the kind of things that are so amazing that we're just discovering. And
pretty special, eh?
But we need it, like, for future generations to be taught from it, to take soil samples and do a study where it's been clear cut. You can't, you gotta go natural forest. And
basically, this is like a globally significant spot right here.
Exactly.
For the world.
I'd like to hope that that maybe, you know, we're waking up to some of this, and hopefully we wake up on time.
Our journey is continuing, and now we're just hiking through an old growth trail, and we're going to come out on a beautiful lake to go see something called Spirit Rock, which is on Obabaca Ridge. It's just this amazing freestanding rock, so pretty cool. Okay, so this is Obabaca Ridge, right?
yeah.
Okay, so, and then this standing one right here is the specific Spirit Rock.
Yeah.
Did you know why, like, people traveled up here just to sit in this site and look at it? Like,
They get a boost in life here, just to get re-energized again for the next season. So I was talking when we were at the Lake Obabaca, they went and rest people on the high cliffs and the high hills. This is one of the reasons why this place is so sacred, because when you look across, you can see all the ridges, and there's many people put away in the early days to rest on top of the cliffs there.
so when people were put to rest here, I guess their kind of spirits might still live here.
That's why it is. That's why they call it Spirit Rock. You know, it's a powerful place. To me, it's a very powerful place, and I guess my people before me felt the same way about it. Only thing we have left now, sites like this. When you think about sacredness, I might be wrong, but my own opinion, the whole 4,000 square miles were sacred over people at one time or another. It was a livelihood. We had to depend on those lands and those waters to survive. Our waters, like Lake Temagami, is destroyed now due to mines and logging. We're still fortunate enough. I still drink water out of Obabaca Lake. I know I could never do it in Temagami, but when you live on the land and when you respect the land, it teaches you. You know, it's just something that you got to be in tune with. I'll use our people, for example. How many people took so much wisdom and knowledge to their graves? It's not written, probably, you know, because elders have to be asked Others don't come out and say, hey guys, come here and talk about it. You gotta listen to this, because they respect people. And when you respect people, you don't push, you don't tell them, well, you gotta listen to this, I got something to say. But they're like, yeah, but when they were asked something, they'd be more than willing to give their inspiration that everything is a good reason to live.
So Ted, do you feel rejuvenated here a little bit?
I do.
I kind of feel like I am a little bit, eh?
So you don't have to charge your batteries, you're probably getting energized too.
Well, that would be something else, eh? This is such a beautiful little site too, isn't it? Like this little, just this little point here.
It's not only sacred to the native people, it's sacred to all people that come enjoy it.
So we just, sat here where literally people have been sitting for thousands of years in front of this Ojibwe sacred site with Alex.
I just feel really fortunate to be able to have had that experience and
really hearing what he had to say about this place, what the meaning of it is to him and to Ojibwe people, and some of the history known and unknown. It's just absolutely fascinating.
As time goes on, we're going to appreciate more and more how special that was.
So unfortunately, it is time to pack up and go. Sad to be leaving. It's just been such a cool time here hanging out with Alex.
Alex is one of the real protectors of this area, and that's a rare thing to find in the world nowadays. So lucky to have learned some of his knowledge and show us some of his traditional skills and just tell us some of his amazing stories.
Alex is going to continue to do what he can to protect Temagami and his ancestral heritage for as long as he can, and Ted and I are going to do everything we can do to help. Kind of sad that our time with him is coming to an end, though me and Ted's trip is going to go on for quite a ways through some really beautiful and wild country.
Just being out here, it's hard work, but canoeing is just so amazing, and
it's a very honest way to travel, just to experience the land, the wildlife you see, and the fact that it forces you to travel a little bit slower, and when you travel slower, you see things in much greater detail. You can get into places that you really can't access and travel any other way in a canoe, and the Temagami backcountry is a perfect example of that. There's really just nothing like it.
A lot of people are sort of like, why do you guys do this? Like, why would you do all that hard work? And these wild places still exist. The people like Alex still exist, and their story needs to be heard. It's very scary, a lot of it, and so much could go wrong, but it's been some of the most rewarding stuff I've ever done in my life.
That's just how it is. The more scared you are to do it, the more gratifying it is.
We often forget what we're capable of as people, and a lot of time, happiness or success is really on the other side of your fear. The important thing is not to give up. Today is always tomorrow's yesterday, and you just pick yourself up and you keep going.
Ted and I, sometimes we get in arguments, but we're able to, blow off some steam and move past those things.
I'm just very fortunate to have been able to do this out here with my brother.
The Baird Brothers sleep. Riveting scene.
It's just been awesome.
Ted and I will continue to answer the call of the wild and search for these remote stretches of land that are just begging to be explored. More adventures await.
Oh man, I won't really miss the portaging too much though.